Hi, welcome to What Did You Learn? My name is Ahava Leaptag, and I'm very excited to have here a superstar from the healthcare marketing community, a longtime friend and colleague, Chris Bevelo. Chris is the health systems practice lead at Revive Health and is also the author of 3 popular books under the series Joe Public Doesn't Care About Your Hospital, which I recommend. All 3 of them, actually. Chris, welcome.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
It's great to be here. It's good to see you. We usually hang out at conferences, and this hasn't been the year for that.
It's sad, isn't it? Someday soon.
It is. It's hard. It's hard. I think it's hard for everybody who's used to those kind of professional encounters. So, Chris, what hobbies did you take up in quarantine? Did you learn to make sourdough or a TikTok?
TikTok, I have been. It's hilarious because I think I might be the foremost TikTok viewer in our agency of 100 people, where the mean age is like 30. So, but I'm quick to point out, I'm not registered on TikTok. I don't know why that matters. I just view the videos.
So you're a lurker.
I'm a lurker. I don't comment. I forward quite a bit. It just has given me such levity and such a break during these trying times of 2020. Even though there's politics in there and stuff, I now just scroll right past that stuff and look for the funny stuff.
But that's actually a really interesting question that we can dive into before we talk about, how the pandemic has influenced healthcare marketing. But let's talk about how it's influenced marketing in general. Because when you think about where marketing is going to go and the way that these future buyers are going to consume content, are we really going to be producing 6-second videos about colonoscopies?
Yeah, I mean, it's all changing before our eyes. That is for sure. I'm still, though, so old school. I don't like consuming a lot of things in video form unless it's entertainment, pure entertainment, because I feel like I'm committed, and I don't want to be committed. I'd rather read a blog post than view a video of the same content.
I feel the same way. And I think a lot of people feel that way. And in fact, when I ask my kids stuff like that, they'll say it depends on the subject matter. If I have to worry about how to prepare for something, then yeah, I want to read it. I don't necessarily want to watch a video about it. But if I want to, learn more about a doctor's personality, then I would probably, watch a video.
For sure.
When this whole thing started, somebody had come to you and said to you, Chris, listen, I want you to know that this is about to happen. What do you wish you had known?
I think that what has been most surprising to me, and that I wish I would have known so I could prepare and help others in our world prepare, was the degree to which things I thought would just be straightforward health advice became politicized. It's shocking to me. We knew there was always controversy around vaccines, though it seemed to be such a small minority. But everything from is COVID real to wear a mask, forget about vaccines, which has, is complex and has real issues behind it. There's no real issues behind wearing a mask, right? But boy, are there unreal issues, or whatever you want to put it, right? And so I think if we would have known that, we might have been more aggressive. We might have communicated differently. I think that caught a lot of people by surprise in what should have been just straightforward guidance, turned into hot button issues. And that would have changed how we talked about it. And maybe it would have helped things early on.
It's so fascinating that you say that, because I am not surprised by that at all, because the most important thing that a trusted individual does is communicate clearly. And from the very top, the goal, there's never been a communication goal of being clear. It's confuse things, accuse things, bully people.
I just didn't expect that, though. I didn't expect it to that degree. I mean, clearly, depending on how you look at task force and our leadership, you would have seen this coming for 3.5 years or whatever. But I didn't expect it to happen to the degree or intentionally. There's been some intentionality to it. that is still leaves me with my jaw ajar.
Yeah, I think so. You know, the CDC says that a pandemic is just as much of a communications crisis as it is a health emergency. And I think that for a lot of hospital marketers, what they found out was that, boy, is that true. And they really started to receive a tremendous amount of respect from inside and outside the organization about what it is that they do.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find that your clients were sort of getting that executive buy-in and suddenly people were like, oh, wow, thanks so much for how hard you work and what you're doing? Because we always thought you bought billboards, but now we realize you actually really do stuff here.
You mean the marketing people?
Yeah.
They really do stuff? Yeah, I think, my first reaction, Hava, was, oh boy, this is going to be bad for our part of the business, so marketing communication, because it was a communications crisis as much as anything, and because everybody shut off for 2 months or however long it was, and we're in a horrific financial hole, that they just went, crap, we need help. Marketing, that's your job, right? And they actually turned to marketing for the thing that they've always been there for, but maybe had been overlooked for, which sounds ridiculous, but we know is true. And the smart marketers stepped forward and showed their real value, and still continue to do that.
Yeah, I mean, almost from the beginning, I saw that the communications aspect of marketing was so desperately needed that, when you're writing blogs about what is COVID and how do you tell the difference between COVID and the flu, how do you take your child, symptoms, and what do you do about that? Right away, when we started talking to our clients about like, what does our editorial calendar change to? How do we pivot? It became very clear to me that this was really the goal of what we try to do, is build these relationships with people so that they do trust us and they do believe in us. And I think that that's where marketing, sometimes people's very narrow definition of marketing falls very short. And they don't really think about the long-term effects of what we're trying to create when we do all the tactics that we do, rather than, just buying the billboard or buying the ad, but actually, saying to people, you can come to us when you need us because you counted on us for really important information in the past.
Yeah. And then that's not easy also, that you have to, as we know, it's very difficult to actually move people. And when you're up against a fear of COVID, when you're up against economic issues where people are scared to spend money or can't, or lost their insurance or their jobs, it's not a simple task to pull people in, or to communicate all of the nuance that needs to be communicated.
So you live in Minneapolis,
mm-hmm.
and in the middle of this, Black Lives Matter happens.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first thought, besides being a person and just reacting to it as a person, as a professional in healthcare marketing? What were your first few thoughts around the best possible response that, as healthcare communicators, because, social problems around health and mental health and how this was going to affect people, what were some of your thoughts around, what do I tell my clients? What do I tell them? How do I tell them to respond? How do I help them work this through?
Yeah, my first thoughts kind of came from some of the reaction we saw among hospitals and health systems, which was hesitancy. And I think the hesitancy came from looking at this like you might look at other issues where there are two sides. I can't believe I'm even saying that, but there are two sides. There are people in the community that have two different beliefs. And boy, if we go out with one, we might put off the other. And I just remember having a pretty visceral reaction to that, of folks saying, well, we probably should just stay on the sidelines, and wanting to say, that's also a message. You're sending a message when you don't send a message in this moment in time. And honestly, maybe this is easy for me to say, but I don't give a bleep about the people that don't want to hear that message. Sorry. Like, there isn't two sides to this conversation, to this argument. There's a right thing and there's a wrong thing. And now that's from my standpoint. And again, it's easy for me as a consultant, as somebody on the outside. But we also did research that showed, hey, you may not be expected at some level to stand out this way, but people notice when you don't. Um, but we heard from folks in different markets where they said, well, in our market, this may not be received so well. And it's like, well, boy, then maybe you have some work to do in your
Maybe you
market.
should move.
I mean, I don't know that there are people that are, let's just take this to the extreme, Ava. There's a contingent of our population that's racist, and we don't want to offend them with supporting Black Lives Matter or social justice, because we might lose them as patients, is a smart thing, is the right thing. Like, I don't know what that thing is other than a scared thing.
What I find really interesting about what you said is that a hospital executive may feel different. And if you are in a market where you're surrounded by people who don't consider themselves racist, but it's very clear that racist behaviors are happening in that market or around just in the country in general, what I found interesting was that a lot of people, I thought, said, now we have an opportunity to have a conversation. And I wonder, do you think that people always handled that conversation well? It sounds to me like some people did and some people didn't.
Yeah, it's a minefield. And it's even the people, I mean, I have this personal experience wanting to have the right conversation, but not knowing how to have it. This is the difference. In our company, we were fortunate that we could set an atmosphere that was okay to say the wrong thing. And people, you could work through it. You don't get that in the public square. You say the wrong thing and you're going to get, it doesn't matter what wrong thing.
Or you say nothing.
Come at you.
Or you say nothing. So it's a horrible tightrope, right?
It doesn't matter. So that's why you almost have to say, well, look, it doesn't matter what I do. I'm going to get criticized. So I'm going to do the right thing. And yes, I'll be criticized for that. But if I do the wrong thing, I'm going to be criticized. If I do nothing, I'm also going to be criticized.
What do you think COVID exposed about how we approach hospital marketing in general? And where do you think we need to look at those cracks? Because I think what you're saying is it takes a big event, but with a big event, you have the opportunity to move forward, but you're also going to see sort of the bad stuff too.
Yeah, I think we talk a lot about how COVID-19 hasn't exposed. It's taken things that we knew were broken in healthcare system in this country and just put them. I mean, you just can't ignore them. You can't ignore health equity anymore, right? I think for healthcare marketing, it's shown what healthcare marketers can really do if given the chance in the right organizations where they've stepped forward and they have helped really drive volumes when it was desperately needed, help communicate not just what's important about the organization, but really important health information. And we hope that sticks as well. We have heard from so many CMOs that the door's been open and they've stepped through.
And the money, more than that, is that the money is now suddenly available. But I also think that it's not just marketing, it's the communications, the internal communications also, where yes, that really is something that pushed forward the idea that, oh, these people really can help us when we're in a crisis. Are you familiar with this Mask Up campaign that these 100 hospitals did?
Yeah.
So I found that fascinating for so many reasons. So my question to you is, hospitals are taking on this conversation of Mask Up. Do you think that they're going to be brave enough now to take on some of these other conversations? I
think they 100% ought to. And also, like, Cleveland Clinic kind of took the lead on the Mask Up, though they of course brought in tons.
Amanda Todorovich, yeah.
It's going to take a Johns Hopkins, a Cleveland Clinic, a Providence to take the mantle on some of these things. Or the AHA as an example, another organization that could pull that off. Somebody's going to have to lead, but there needs to be more advocacy for these kind of things from the industry. So we're seeing a change in care, and I think COVID has pushed it. It used to be people got care at home, doctors came to your home, people gave birth at home, they died at home. Then we moved into a place where everything took place in a hospital setting. And now we're starting to see, people getting tested for COVID at home, people going to urgent cares for smaller things, people going into CVS's and Rite Aids to get their flu shots. And we're starting to see this dispersal of
the health system as the place where you get care and going back to the home and going to these retail locations. If you're a hospital executive, what are you thinking about when you think about what I just said?
It took a pandemic to accelerate all this. If I'm a health system, I'm worried about the new and alternative entrants who just would die. They would, that's what all they want is trial. Just let somebody try me. Because if they try me, they're going to stick with me. And so pushing people to virtual, CVS, Teladoc, all of these places are like, yes, yes, yes. Because as soon as we get them, we're not going to lose them, right? So if I'm a health system executive, I'm super concerned about that. We keep telling our clients, think if you were creating a health system from scratch right now, everything would be virtual first, everything, unless it was emergent or urgent. You might offer some in-person, but that would be the exception, not the other way around, except for when you need it, like surgery and stuff. But so much of this can be, and you can add to the experience. I just was talking to a doctor today, and he was complaining about how cumbersome it is for patients to like have to show up 30 minutes early and give all of their information. And I'm like, last time I did that was virtual. I did it from home. They called me ahead of time. And so when I showed up I actually had surgery, boom, I'm right in. So there's so much this can solve. We just have to keep moving forward.
So Chris, hopefully in less than a year from now, we're at a conference, enjoying being together and having a good time. And I turn to you and I say to you, Chris, what's really the one thing you took away from this? Like, what do you now have in your toolbox that you are going to lean on as a healthcare marketer and communicator?
What I've learned and what will stick with me is you've got to be agile. You can no longer just go, well, this is the way that you move orthopedic patients, and it's been that way for 20 years, and we just got to figure out how to do it with you guys. A lot of that will be the same, but a lot of it won't be.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Where can people find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can search for me there. CAB@thinkrevivehealth.com.
So before we leave, we do a fun segment where we ask you to sum up your experience of 2020. It started with the quarantine, but now it's been almost a year. So in 6 words, mine is, what fresh hell is it today?
Yeah.
What are yours?
I had to think about this.
And I would like to point out to the audience that you did ask for extra words, which is classic.
No, I didn't. I didn't ask for extra words. My question was, does it have to be 6 words? You assumed I wanted more. I actually wanted less.
Okay, there you go.
But I've got 6. All right, so my 6 words are 2020 can go straight to bleep.
And you fill in the bleep.
Yes. I don't know what kind of rating this gets, so I'm trying to keep it family.
Well, it's LinkedIn, so it's very professional. Chris, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. It was great.
Yeah, appreciate the invitation.